hates being called Trevor. And well, my name's not Trevor. Like, it just couldn't be. There's just no way I could be a cartoon. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Is it true that you don't want to be recognized as Trevor Phillips?
Oh boy, here we go again.
It doesn't make sense to me because I couldn't be an animated figure, but...
So, I'm Steven Ogg. Trevor is a cartoon, but I myself could never be a cartoon.
You wanted me to give you this message from Trevor, which, of course, I'm not Trevor. My name is Steven, and it would be literally impossible for me to be a cartoon.
So in case you haven't noticed, Steven Ogg doesn't like it when you call him Trevor. For years now, he's had an issue when fans refer to him as his character from GTA 5. And this has created an endless amount of discourse across the Grand Theft Auto community. Many see it as a lack of appreciation for the Grand Theft Auto series and the notoriety it has brought to Steven Ogg's resume. They wonder why he'd have a problem being directly related to a character that, in many ways, served as the foundation for his career as an actor. Any wealth and fame he experiences today can be traced back to his involvement in the greatest selling entertainment property of all time. So what's all the fuss about, Steven? Well, let's take a step back for a second and pretend that money and fame doesn't solve every problem that there is. And consider Steven Ogg's reactions through the psychological lens of identity erosion. In a world where digital identity is becoming more and more relevant than physical identity every day, having your face and your entire sense of self-worth defined by a fictional character's likeness and not your own might be a mental burden heavier than anyone outside of the entertainment world can truly understand. Maybe money, fame, and career foundation isn't all that you need to create a substantial sense of self, and when the maniac you voiced over a decade ago continues to define everything you do, it might not be as fun as GTA 5 fans think it is. Now, before we go any further, I want to preface all of this by saying I am not a psychology professor. I do not claim to know Steven Ogg personally. I don't know his psychological state, and I don't know what the character of Trevor and the franchise of GTA 5 means to him, other than what he has publicly expressed. This is merely a video taking psychological principles and applying them to behavior that has been recorded on video, and me trying to explain the situation from a nuanced perspective rather than just condemning Steven Ogg for his actions or condemning the Grand Theft Auto community for their reactions to his actions. And if by some tiny chance Steven Ogg ever watches this video, he wants to tell me to go f myself and that I have no idea what I'm talking about, then he is well within his right to do that, and I will take it on the chin. All that being said, let's take a step back here and paint this picture from what it might look like from Steven Ogg's perspective. You provide voice work and motion capture for a complete psychopath in a video game series wrapping production somewhere in the year 2012. Over a decade later, people still recognize you on the street, but 9 times out of 10 when they see you, they call you by that character's name and not your own. Despite worthy performances in The Walking Dead, Better Call Saul, Westworld, and dozens of other projects, you just keep getting labeled as that character you played back in 2013. After a while, you might start to wonder if people even care who you really are, or if you've just transformed into a mascot for their nostalgia. This is where the concept of role engulfment comes into play. It's a psychological phenomenon where a single role a person has played, whether in a job, a relationship, or yes, even a fictional performance, becomes so dominant in the eyes of others that it swallows every other part of their identity. The man becomes the mask because that's the only version the world is willing to acknowledge anymore. And it's not even that Steven Ogg dislikes Trevor or resents the performance or the Grand Theft Auto series. In interviews, he said that he loved the role, loved the work, and had a blast doing it, but loving the work and wanting to be trapped in it forever are two very different things. How would you feel if the most intense, chaotic, unhinged version of yourself, the part you put on for a show, was the only version anyone ever saw or cared about? What if the retail job you worked at Target during college was all you'll ever be known for, and despite what progress you've made in life, milestones you've accomplished, growth you've experienced, every time you meet someone new, they just know you as Target Guy? The human brain thrives on growth, on transformation, on working towards the future and building on career goals or on a life path. And when people in public only want to relate your identity to a piece of your life that ended many chapters ago, you might feel as if they're preventing you from ever truly moving forward, from growing, from receiving validation for your other work, and experiencing the remainder of your life to its fullest extent. And let's be honest, when this happens every once in a while, maybe it's a funny story. But when it happens constantly over years, over decades, the joke gets old. And what you're left with is this strange, hollow feeling that your identity is no longer yours. You're not Steven anymore, you're Trevor. You're an Easter egg, a walking meme, a nostalgia totem. This is where we start to brush up against the concept of identity erosion, the gradual breakdown of an individual's internal sense of self, which is often caused by repeated external misrecognition. It's a concept we're seeing more and more in the age of digital avatars and parasocial relationships. When your likeness, your face, your voice, your mannerisms are forever attached to a fictional being that people prefer over the real you, you start to feel like your reflection has been hijacked. And in Steven Ogg's case, that reflection isn't the proudest identity to hang your hat on. Sure, GTA fans love Trevor, but he's also a meth-smoking, violence-addicted psychopath, and while yes, he's just a character, when everyone keeps referring to you as that character, it can start to feel like they think you do those things too. And when Steven expresses his frustration, it's not a lack of appreciation for the work he's done, it's fatigue towards having to constantly maintain a boundary to establish his own sense of identity. And he's far from the only actor who's dealt with this. There's a whole class of performers who have, in some form or another, experienced this same kind of identity suffocation. Daniel Radcliffe spent years trying to shake off Harry Potter. James Gandolfini was reportedly disturbed at how much people idolized Tony Soprano, a character that he saw as deeply broken. Even Mark Hamill admits he resented being boxed in as Luke Skywalker for decades. In each of these cases, the actor became less of a person in the public eye and more of a permanent symbol. But at least with most of these characters, there was complexity in their character arcs. With Trevor, there really isn't an arc. There's only rage, chaos, and dark humor. So when you're tied to that image for life, it's not just limiting, it's distorting. You can walk down the street, feed the homeless, save a puppy from a flood, fall in love, build a family, and live your life to the fullest. Then someone looks at you and only sees the meth addict that blows up houses and has an inappropriate relationship with a stuffed teddy bear. I literally just watched a film the other day that taps into this concept perfectly. It's an anime from 1997 called Perfect Blue, and despite coming out almost 30 years ago, it predicts identity erosion in the internet age to an uncomfortably accurate degree. In the film, a girl named Mima splits away from her pop group to pursue an acting career, but society struggles to accept her change in identity. A mysterious, obsessive fan pens diaries on the internet pretending to be Mima, telling the public that she is being manipulated into accepting her acting roles, and expresses that her pop music persona is and always will be her true identity. I don't want to spoil the film because it's incredible and you should definitely watch it. But this alternate identity begins speaking for Mima, causing the character to lose her sense of self as she struggles more and more to separate who she truly is with this mysterious representation of her identity as it exists on the internet. What Perfect Blue does so brilliantly is show how terrifying it is to lose control of your own image, to watch a version of yourself that you didn't authorize, that you don't even recognize, become the one that people believe in. And that's the same feeling Steven Ogg seems to be reacting to. His digital shadow, this explosive, chaotic persona named Trevor, has taken on a life of its own. And no matter how much he tries to reclaim his reflection, the shadow always seems to be one step ahead. And in the age of the internet, these shadows are more powerful than ever. A video game character doesn't just stay on a console anymore, he becomes a meme, a TikTok sound, a shout across the convention floor. And when fans aren't really thinking about where Trevor ends and Steven begins, the distinction gets lost. But for the person who actually played the character, that distinction is everything. So when Steven Ogg gets short or frustrated with people calling him Trevor in a cameo or like at a public appearance, I genuinely don't think it's coming from a lack of appreciation or just like, I don't know, crabbiness. It's the psychological result of long-term misrecognition. It's years of being celebrated for something that no longer reflects who you are, or maybe never really did in the first place. He's not rejecting the fan, he's rejecting the idea that one character, one moment in time, should have the power to define everything that came before and everything that comes after. And it's really not unreasonable or rude to react this way, it's just human. Identity is something that all of us work to maintain on a daily basis, and when society hijacks your identity and defines it for you, I can easily see how that might eat away at somebody. I think Steven Ogg can both be grateful for his opportunity to play Trevor in GTA 5 and also feel some resentment towards people who only relate his entire life experience to being Trevor. After all, people are just trying to define their own identity, whether they be voice actors, Target employees, construction workers. We're all trying to form our own identity. I'm forming my own identity by making this video, working on YouTube. If somebody were to refer to me as the kid that worked at Handel's Ice Cream when he was 16 years old for the rest of my life, I'd probably get tired of being related to working at a fucking ice cream shop. All right, guys, as always, I appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Appreciate all the support. Gonna keep this channel rolling, trying to keep the weekly episodes coming. Going out of town for my wedding and honeymoon in a couple weeks. So I'm gonna try to get some stuff going beforehand so that I still have consistent uploads. Worst case scenario, I probably will be MIA for a few weeks, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna do my best. But anyways, appreciate you watching, appreciate the support, and yeah, this is Mike, GTAnalysis, signing off. I will catch you guys next time.